Hey guys, Glenn one more time, and we have one short little video that's going to show you how to assemble some of the units and some tips for putting them together, and some different techniques for gluing them together. So in the background, I'm putting together the catalog of all the parts you're getting and what the different parts are and what they look like so you can visually see them instead of having to open each file. And these are all the parts that have to be assembled. You have the boats and you have the guns. We have at this point unlocked the cockatiel, which is right here, and also the 22 gun. So that's going to be, so I'm going to put those together also. And let's see, is there anything else new here? No, that's it. Now the one thing I wanted to tell everyone is that when you put together a boat, let's go here to the mud skipper. It's the most common example I have for almost everything. So you're going to assemble it. The files have been designed so they print out like this. So the mud skipper looks pretty obvious. The skates for the mud skipper are gonna print out upside down. Then when it's time to assemble them, because you can see this is designed for FDM printers and also to be so you don't need any support structure while you're 3D printing. So it's gonna print out like this, but you're gonna flip it over when you glue it, and that should be pretty obvious when you look at how they're assembled. Now everything is glued together. There are no snap together parts. But that's just done because making them snap together, that's kind of fragile and you need your printer to be tuned in pretty well. I didn't want to go through all that trouble. I think it's just better just to glue them, and really when you do wargaming, you don't have the time to worry about pieces falling apart. So when you're printing out boats, you will get the file and you'll have, for instance, the mud skipper. It's going to say mud skipper then body. That'll be this part. Whoops. Mud skipper then body. Then mud skipper and skates, that would be this part. Eventually, as you go to larger boats, that's what the $100 pledges are going to be. You'll be having bigger and bigger boats, and so you might have multiple pieces. So you might have, for instance, mud skipper part 1 of 2 and part 2 of 2, and then even skates part 1 of 1 and 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. Maybe even larger. Now I did design everything to print on the smallest of printers, so just a little 3" by 3" printer. But if I will also design things for 220 millimeter beds, and so you might get 3 files. You might have one file that's like the whole. If it's a larger boat, you have one file that's the whole. I don't know, called the Giganto boat. The gigantic boat will be one solid piece, so it won't be in multiple pieces. But then you also have that Giganto boat broken up, so that way it can still print on a smaller printer. Now for the guns, for instance, right here we have the 21. So that's going to be in 3 parts. All the guns will be in 3 parts. The gun will be so you'll have the first part that's going to be the 21 base. That's going to be the brown piece. That's modular. Then you'll have right here. This is going to be the saddle. So that's what the barrel is going to sit on. And then you'll have the barrel itself. So it'll be 21 base, 21 saddle, and then 21 barrel. Put together the 21 gun. So we're starting off with the base, like I said. Then you're going to do the saddle. Now I recommend you could use super glue. That's probably the best way of doing this. We do recommend using the super glue gel. That's probably the easiest way of doing this. And I could do that with one hand here. So I'm going to just put one little drop of super glue gel. Probably won't even be able to see that. There we go. Then put on the saddle. And you'll see with the saddle that one side's a little bit wider than the other. It's kind of hard. I'm sorry, you really can't see that very well. One side's wider than the other. The side that's wider is the front of the barrel. Is where the front of the barrel goes. But honestly, it fits in there pretty well either way. So it's not. It just changes the angle slightly if you put the wrong side of the barrel in. One thing with the gel, usually I almost always put too much in there. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I waste a little bit, but super glue is fairly cheap. So I'll put a dab on top of the saddle. Then put the barrel on. And it's done. Okay, so that was using gel. Now let's put together the 12 gun. So once again, you're going to have the 12 base. You're going to have the 12 saddle. And on the 12 saddle, you'll definitely see that there is a much wider part and a narrow part. With the 1 point guns, or the 1 damage guns, that narrow part faces towards the front. So, and then you have, of course, the barrel. Now, before we talked about the gel, but that's not my actual favorite technique. My favorite technique is using normal super glue, the cheap stuff, and then along with that using Kicker, CA Kicker, Instaset. This is one brand that they cover over at Hobby Lobby, but you can get this stuff online. It's just pretty cheap. You can also mix your own. There's different formulas for it, but the one that I had that was successful was a teaspoon of baking soda and then a shot full of water. Now, that's something you can use that, but the problem is you got to kind of constantly be mixing that. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. So this is one instance where I don't go the cheap way and actually go out there and buy the Kicker. But I don't apply it using the spray. In fact, that spray almost always, every time I bought this thing, the spray dies out after, I don't know, a couple weeks or so. I think the compounds just break down the springs inside there. What I do is I go to the local drugstore and I buy these little syringes for diabetes insulin injection. I forget what it is. I always feel weird buying it myself. I mean, I'm sure the pharmacist could care less, but I always feel weird just asking for syringes. But that's me. It's my hang up. But I of course use the Kicker, put it inside the needle, and I use it that way. The one thing I like about this way because it sets instantaneously, and you don't have to be quite so finicky about how you place things, and the gel gets all over the place. So let me pause this real fast and get this ready to go, and I'll show you what I do. Okay, so I'm doing this all one-handed again. So I've got the 12 base. I'm putting the 12 saddle down. There we go. And I just take my super glue. Oops. There we go. Take my super glue, put a little drop on it, and capillary action. Ooh, I used a big word there. We'll draw it underneath the rest of the unit. There we go. Put a little bit more in there. There you go. So I do that. Or you can always put the drop down first, of course. Then I take one little, I'm not even sure if you can see this. In fact, I doubt you can see this. Take one little drop of the Kicker, put it on there, and when you see it, you'll see it hit and activate, and it's already done. It's set. So let's do this the easy way. Go put a little quick drop on the barrel, or on the saddle for where the barrel will go. Place the barrel on top. And even though it's super glue, this is really not, it does take a long time for it to actually set. I'm just impatient. So I take the Kicker, put one little drop. There we go. And like I said, once you see it, you'll see it like just crystallize like on the spot. And that's ready to go too. Let's do the 22 gun. Put the drop of glue on first again. Put on the barrel. Slightly wider side facing forward. Drop down my, there we go. Put a drop on the saddle and put the barrel down. Once again, a little drop of Kicker. And that's done. Okay, I'm going to use the camera mount for the 11 gun because that one's a little special. As everyone knows, the 11 gun is able to pivot. So the saddle on that is actually two separate pieces, and that would be, you don't have to print out the one piece twice. It's in the file as two separate pieces, and then the barrel. So let me put this inside the camera mount so I can show you what to do. Hold a second. So I have the 11 barrel here, and I always recommend doing a press fit to make sure everything fits. I will usually grab a toothpick and make sure that it passes through the barrel end. You can see that also, but I just do that because that knocks out any filament. So now for the saddle. I put the saddle on. I put the one side of the saddle, and I insert the barrel into one side of the saddle. Just like that. Oh, it's really small. I'm sorry. There we go. Then I sandwich that with the other saddle, the other side of the saddle for the 11 gun. So now you see that I'm sandwiching, pinching it together with my fingers. You can see the barrel switches back and forth nice and easy. Now This has got a slight taper to it, and it's a little bit of a trick here. Now, I used to use pliers to do this, but you can just do it with your fingers. You gotta just sort of pinch there, and there's a little bit of a taper, 45-degree taper. Just find the barrel. I'm sorry, not the barrel. This is the 11 base. See that thing? And it'll only fit one way. Kind of get it started inside there, and then just press and fit it in. It's a little bit of effort, but it always gets in there. Okay. Well, that was silly. I should show you the piece. Now, one little trick. Let me put this down real fast. So here's the guns. So the 11, the 12, the 21, and 22. 11, 12, 21, 22. Now, one little trick I can tell you as far as printing out the sails and printing out the shoulders for the 11 gun. Once you put that in your slicer, if after you print out one test one, if you see that the saddle is a little too tight, because I didn't even glue this thing. This actually holds in there just fine. I usually don't actually glue in the 11s. No, maybe I should. Who cares? But they're really, really tight and it's designed to be that way. But the cool thing is if it's a little too tight, all you have to do is just adjust the percentage of the Z height. So just take it, make it 95%. That'll make it much easier to slip into the 11 base. Same thing with the sails. The sails might be a little tight going into their sail blocks. Just make them a little bit lower on the Z-axis, and then they'll slip in there easily in and out. But as you saw from the play video, I usually just fix those in there. They never even had to come out. So even if they're tight, it's not a big deal if they're tight. I would not glue them in there because you're going to want those to be able to come out at some point in the future. But yeah, don't glue them in there. But if they're tight when you put them in there and they don't come out easily, there's nothing wrong with that either. Okay, and lastly, we have the mud skipper. Oh, I'm sorry, we have the boats. Like I said, the skates will print out upside down, so they adhere to the bed nice and easily. And then you're going to glue them on there like this. There's little tabs on there that help you align the boat. It goes like that. But honestly, I will actually take the body, flip it over. I will apply glue. Once again, using the thin super glue here. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's the right one. I'll apply glue just to the tabs. There we go, just in those spots. I will line it up here on the boat. I'm just going to do this all one-handed. Probably not the most intelligent thing to do. That partially stuck to my finger. As everyone knows happens with super glue. There we go. Okay, now if you had the gel or if you use the super glue, just let it sit there. But once again, I'm far too impatient. And admittedly, Justin and I have to assemble like tons of these things for conventions. A lot of times at conventions, people will ask for the boat they're playing with, and I'll give them away pretty regularly. Okay, so there you go, all set. Let's do the same over here. Got the cockatiel. Flip that over. A couple of drops of super glue. Tabs. Guy on here. Didn't put my fingers that time. Excellent. And once again, you do not have to use the kicker. You use normal super glue. You get whatever way you prefer gluing PLA together. Some people use that E6000 stuff, or just 3000, whatever that is. Anything that will glue it works fine. You can even do the wood glue. They actually had to do the wood glue once, but that of course takes an hour and a half to dry. Here, let me get these guys lined up here. Let me pause this a second. Okay, got that all lined up for rapid gluing. Let's do one bigger drop at this point. Flip it over. Get lined up. Didn't glue my fingers. Excellent. Let's get the next guy here. So that was the right foot. It's kind of hard to tell when it's upside down. Either way, here's the other foot. And then the warbler. I'm not going to even bother with the CA. Probably in the time it took me to switch from one to the next one, it probably dried already anyway. And that's assembling and gluing together your your Seas of Ice boats and guns. Oops, that was ready to play down. Cool beans. We're a week away from ending the Kickstarter, and hopefully we'll get that little end of the line bump. And once again, thank you everyone for contributing and pledging and suggestions we've been getting. Justin and I are really excited. This has been nerve-wracking, but we've gained quite a bit of experience. So when we start expanding the Frozen Winds universe, you'll be right there along with us, and hopefully this will go a lot more smoothly. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys. It just helps a ton.